Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 203. Without any delay, start explanation. Long Yu smiled. Okay, let's do it then. Let's take it to the skies. As he said this, he leaped with all his strength while his body began quickly increasing in size as he propelled himself upward. As he continued his ascent to the skies, dazzling soul rings began appearing from beneath his feet as well. However, Shuemaya did not show any weakness to her opponent. She leaped and charged toward the skies as well. Be it the male or female students, they could not help but feel slightly speechless when they saw the events unfolding before their eyes. Are these two really here to date? Isn't their dating process a bit too fiery? They are already fighting it out before the final segment where we actually fight each other to claim our partners. The glow from the soul rings on Long Yu's body was terrifying. They were mainly black, and although the glow from his soul rings was dull, light seemed to radiate around them as they enlarged alongside his body. The imposing manner of his entire being also began to intensify multiple times over. Although Tang Wulin was standing below them, he could not help but feel shocked in his heart when he felt the wave of soul power emanating from Long Yu's body. This person was exceedingly more powerful than he was 4 years ago. He must have already become a two-word battle armor master. To top it all off, he's probably only 24 years old this year at the very most. For someone at that age to be able to cultivate up to this level was truly shocking. Before long, Long Yu's body had enlarged until he was 10 meters tall, and it gave off an unparalleled powerful aura. With that aura came thick, heavy, yellowish-brown scales that appeared on the surface of his skin, and a huge tail that extended from his back. Although he was in mid-air, his dense aura that now felt as heavy as a mountain on one's shoulders still felt incredibly imposing. On the tower ship, Yunming nodded lightly. This must be the Mountain Dragon King Martial Soul. When you truly feel it, you'll realize that its bloodline aura is extremely powerful. In terms of bloodline power, their bloodline powers are generally stronger than the Soul Masters on our Doluo continent due to the influence of the Aboriginals on Star Luo Empire. However, this will also present a clear problem. Under the influence of their bloodline power, the fusion between their spiritual power and martial souls won't be perfect. With that, when their powers reached a certain rank, they would no longer be able to control their strengths. Still, it's still rare for this Long Yu to have such a cultivation base at such a young age. It's no wonder our students rose to fame after defeating him on the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition 3 years ago. Maya, your judgment is spot on. Elder Cai looked at Yunming and nodded her head lightly. After they returned from the competition, she was the one who strongly recommended Guu and the others to take on the names of the Shrek 7 monsters. The strength of Tang Wulin and the gang could be clearly seen from the opponent they had defeated. Long Yu's increasing strength only served as evidence that the strength displayed by their group back then was even more powerful. This Long Yu is growing at too fast a pace. However, his martial soul has its defects as well. Once he unleashes his full force, he'll be in a state where he can no longer control himself. He might even go mad. He probably came here as an exchange student to overcome this problem of his as well, said Elder Cai. Yunming gave a slight nod. The martial soul and bloodline of one of the 9 Dragon Kings can't be born that easily. Let's wait and see. Currently, Long Yu and Shuemaya were already in mid-air. Unlike Long Yu, Shuemaya's body did not grow that much. However, a mecha as dark as ink had already appeared behind her. The mecha was black all over. If not for the shine of the lights from the Sea God Fated Date Festival, it might even be too easy for the others to overlook its presence in the night. When he saw this mecha, Long Yu's could not help it as he raised both his brows. How violent does this lady have to be for her to design her mecha like this? Shuemaya's black mecha did seem slightly exaggerated. Her mecha was about 10 meters tall, and for a black mecha, this was already very huge. Usually, the stronger a mecha was, the smaller its size would be. This was because it could be nimbler this way. The energy source attached to it would also have a greater capacity that would be sufficient to power the mecha for a longer time. However, the aura of this black mecha was different. Although it was 10 meters tall, it still looked slightly bloated. There was nothing about it that seemed nimble. On the shoulders of the black mecha were soul cannons with a caliber of more than 200 millimeters. Other than that, its limbs, torso, and even its waist were equipped with large soul cannons. What was even terrifying was that there were even relatively smaller gun barrels on its arm. As an outstanding student in Monster Academy, how could Long Yu not recognize that those nozzles were there so it could shoot fixed soul cannonballs? Fixed soul cannonballs had been the most terrifying of soul tools available for the past 10,000 years. After 10,000 years worth of development, the fixed soul cannonballs had turned into destructive weapons. Civilians were definitely not allowed to wield them. Even in the military, its use was strictly regulated. However, Shrek Academy was, without a doubt, an exception. In the name of research, it was not out of the ordinary for a fixed soul cannonball to appear here. However, the one who possessed the fixed cannonball was his opponent. Long Yu did not have a shadow of a doubt that there were real cannonballs within those barrels. This was because he had seen the faint glimmer they gave off. How could this still be considered a mecha? This was practically a slaughter machine. The amount of energy that was required to power this machine alone was already an astronomical figure. With the addition of those fixed soul cannons and the condition in which it was built, the cost of building this mecha alone was already enough to make 3 black mechas. Even Long Yu drew some cold breaths when he saw just how violent this lady was. Shuemaya made a hand sign to him with disdain. Moving quickly, she had already transformed into a beam of light that fused into her own black mecha. Although Shuemaya was also a 7-ringed expert, she was not a 2-word battle armor master. She was only a 1-word battle armor master because she had poured most of her energy into researching and improving her mechas. She had a burning passion and a wild obsession regarding various soul tools. As long as there was a powerful soul tool that she fancied, she would always figure out a way to attach it to her own black mecha. The expression on Long Yu's face turned grave. He grabbed at the air with his right hand, causing a beam of golden light to flash past before a thick, heavy lance appeared in his grip. For him to use his weapon immediately. It was clear that he took Shuemaya seriously. Be careful, Shuemaya's ice-cold voice sounded electronically before the black mecha moved just a mere moment later. It raised an arm, and it showed no signs of making preparatory movements as a beam of strong light shot straight toward Long Yu with great force. Long Yu's fighting style had always been to fight fire with fire. He swung the lance in his hand, and a beam of bright golden light shot forth as well. Boom! The intense sound of an explosion erupted in the skies. Countless lights and shadows were scattered everywhere, causing the outer court disciples to watch what was unfolding before their very eyes with intent and focus. Long Yu did not budge in the air, especially since his huge body was as dense and heavy as a mountain. On the other hand, the black mecha began moving as fast as lightning. As it moved, its body swayed gently, leaving behind after images. Shortly after, beams of light burst forth as it bombarded Long Yu with an onslaught of attacks. Long Yu wielded his long spear as he withstood and blocked the attacks from above and below him. He was blocking attacks from soul cannons and soul beams that were raining on him like a furious storm. In midair, a series of explosions could be heard like rolling thunder. What was even more terrifying was that clusters of light continuously erupted on Long Yu's body. Long Yu's first soul ring was already lit up. His soul skill, Mountains, was directly applied to himself, making himself as large as a mountain. The lance in his hand brought with it his flowing water soul skill as huge currents of water charged ceaselessly toward the black mecha. However, the black mecha displayed a nimbleness that was completely discrepant with its large size. It carried out a series of evasive maneuvers under Shuemaya's ingenious controls. Only her attacks landed on Long Yu's body, whereas none of Long Yu's attack had even touched her black mecha from the beginning until the end. What brilliant mecha operating skills, exclaimed Long Yu in his heart. He even showed a bitter smile, because the feeling of those soul beams and soul cannons impacting his body was not exactly an enjoyable feeling. His defenses were already very powerful, but Shuemaya's attacks were truly too violent. It was so violent that he seemed as if he would buckle under them. He needed to utilize a large amount of his soul power to block them. This cannot do. Long Yu pointed with his lance, and another soul ring of his lit up. Swamps. In the skies, a portion of the space around him suddenly turned muddy. Although it was only a formless swamp created by energy, it was no different from an actual swamp. Long Yu was very formidable in the timing of his moves. He had unleashed his soul skill on a route which the black mecha had to take as it maneuvered evasively. Almost immediately, Shu'emaya's black mecha seemed to have crashed into a large web, causing it to instantly slow down. Countless currents raged towards the mecha from all directions. In an instant, they charged straight toward the black mecha like rivers running into the sea. Long Yu's mastery of the coordination between each and every one of his soul skills had already reached a level where he could control them with the highest precision. He did not give his opponent the slightest of chances. However, a shocking scene to him appeared. A silver light flashed, and Shu'emaya's black mecha vanished in thin air. His currents had all crashed into an empty spot. A figure that was as dark as ink appeared and hovered above his back as a dazzling beam of light descended from the skies. It was a huge saber that was more than 6 meters long. Its broad blade was 1.5 meters broad, and it flickered with a dazzling purplish-black glow as it directly slashed Long Yu's shoulder. Amidst the deafening sound of friction, the huge blade that vibrated at a high frequency stubbornly cut into his scales even with the defenses of his thick, heavy scales and his soul skill, mountains. The immense force from the slash sent Long Yu crashing downward from the skies. In the air above Sea God Lake, a light barrier had risen up before anyone noticed. Like a cushion, it bounced Long Yu's majestic body from it. For columns of light immediately shot out from the black mecha's shoulders, bring along with it 4 huge balls of light that erupted mercilessly on Long Yu's back. The intense explosion sounded amidst Long Yu's furious howl. Then, the 6th soul ring on his body suddenly shone brightly. The entire sky seemed to have turned a scarlet red in an instant. Shortly after, Long Yu's body enlarged again. Although his 10-meter-tall body was already very huge, it grew to more than 50 meters tall after he utilized his 6th soul skill, much to everyone's surprise. The large gaping wound on his back was very obvious, and his back was even charred from the explosion. However, under the effects of his 6th soul skill, the damage done by that attack seemed to be very limited. Shortly after, Long Yu's 7th soul ring lit up. 6th soul skill, Mountain Dragon King's Wrath. 7th soul skill, Martial Soul True Body. His huge body stretched as he transformed into a giant dragon more than 50 meters long that was covered with extremely thick and heavy scales in mid-air. The wave of soul power sent out from Long Yu's body even caused a tremor in the space surrounding them. Although he did not utilize his battle armor, the aura he was giving off in this instant even made the title Duo slightly intimidated. It was then that the black mecha rose in the air as strong beams of light endlessly bombarded Long Yu. However, Long Yu, who had already transformed into the Mountain Dragon King at this exact moment, raised his right foreclaw and swatted the space before it directly, causing a sudden tremor in the air. The air around them was immensely distorted before it imploded from a powerful gravitational pull. Shu'emaya could only feel her black mecha sinking before it instantly fell from the skies like a meteor chasing after the moon as she dropped toward the front of the Mountain Dragon King. However, a silvery white glow suddenly appeared on the black mecha's body. Layers upon layers of spatial waves appeared in midair and the black mecha flitted among the silver-white light as it slowly reduced the effects of the gravitational force. Roar! The Mountain Dragon King let out a skyward furious roar before it lashed out with its right foreclaw once more. This time, it caused the entire space surrounding them to distort, shattering the silvery white layer of light just like that. Shu'emaya, who sat in the black mecha, shifted her gaze. Realm! The external pressure had reached the interior of the mecha. Then, the huge saber appeared in the black mecha's hand once more as it slashed at the air and forcibly tore an opening into space. Silver light flashed again and this time, it appeared higher in the air. The Mountain Dragon King raised its head. Suddenly, it arched its wide and thick back, and a lofty mountain suddenly emerged from its back before instantly shooting into the sky. The mountain continued to enlarge in the air. Almost instantly, it had turned into a lofty mountain that was hundreds of meters tall and thousands of meters in diameter. It moved to cover the black mecha completely. Mountain suppression. This was an especially powerful soul skill that could be used while he was under the effects of martial soul true body. The lofty mountain gave off a yellowish-brown glow. Tang Wulin felt his body heat up a little the moment it appeared. The mountain dragon king's torso bone had reacted to it. The immense gravitational force twisted their surroundings completely. Xuemaya could no longer use spatial retreat. She also frighteningly realized that her actions have slowed down under the effects of the lofty mountain. She could only stare blankly as the lofty mountain descended from the skies and crashed straight toward her. "Humph!" she yelled furiously. A barrel on the mecha's arm was raised as its interior flickered with light. Xuemaya could no longer restrain herself as she prepared to unleash her greatest move. Because she spent more energy on researching soul tools, more than 70% of her strength was on her soul tools. Aside from the extremely important ability, spatial retreat, her soul skills and martial soul were only used to improve her soul power. That was why, in terms of the density of soul power alone, she was even superior to Long Yu. However, the advantage of the Mountain Dragon King martial soul was too great. In the end, this peerless martial soul managed to surpass the limits that her super mecha could stand up against. That was why Xuemaya would have to use her ace-in-the-hole secret technique, the fixed soul cannonball, if she wanted to defeat Long Yu. In the field of fixed soul cannonball research, Xuemaya was an absolute expert. "That's enough," a deep voice sounded in the skies. Suddenly, a white light appeared silently in midair, causing Xuemaya's body to freeze instantly. She could not even move an inch so naturally, she could not launch her fixed soul cannonball. On the other side, a crack appeared underneath the mountain. The huge Loft Mountain, with its formidable pressure, was directly swallowed up by the crack. At the same time, Long Yu only felt a tremor within his body. Then, a fearful feeling originating from the depths of his soul released him from his martial soul true body without him being able to control it. He returned to his original form in the blink of an eye. "In this contest, Emaya has lost," Atlas de Lu Yunming's voice resounded in the skies. "The fixed soul cannonball has the ability to turn the tides of the battle. However, if you want to defeat him, you must be willing to let Jade and Stone burn together." Still, Long Yu hadn't used his battle armor from the beginning until the end. "Even if you fought with all your might, the one who'll die in the end is you, and you alone. At most, he'll be gravely injured, so after taking all factors into account, Long Yu has won." Yun Ming's words were absolute and fair. Long Yu and Xuemaya descended from the skies and returned to the surface of Sea God Lake. Xuemaya put her black mecha away. She did not look any different from before. Only her gaze toward Long Yu had changed somewhat. Long Yu was in a much more ragged shape than her. There was a wound on his back, and although it healed quickly, the clothing on his upper body was gone, exposing his strong muscles. "Thank you for the match," said Long Yu to Xuemaya with a solemn expression. He had not thought that he would definitely win. There was a reason behind him not utilizing his battle armor. With the improvement in his cultivation base, the control he had on his emotions grew increasingly weaker. That was why he dared not fight with his full force in a battle on a whim. This was because he might just bring about a catastrophic disaster with a single slip. He did not use his battle armor because he was afraid that he would go wild, not because he did not want to use it. When Xuemaya was about to use her fixed soul cannonball, he had a feeling of shock in his heart and he was jumpy. Without a doubt, if that fixed soul cannonball was fired, the situation would be difficult to predict. Also, Xuemaya had more than one fixed soul cannonball. This object was definitely a great killing tool. It was a strategic weapon. Xuemaya urged the lotus leaf under her feet on and drifted toward Long Yu. She said joyfully, "You've won. I choose you." Long Yu nodded toward her. As he looked at the young lady who was approaching him now, he could not have associated her with the black mecha that was brimming with a domineering aura in the air just now. Xuemaya stood steadily beside Long Yu and looked very calm. On the other hand, everyone let out sighs of relief. If this violent lady truly ended up with Long Yu, they reckoned that he would not have any peaceful days as well. More or less, the boys rejoiced in his sufferings. Long Yu was also slightly troubled. It was only after he exchanged blows with Shuemaya that he truly understood why the boys dared not fight her. She was a being that would whip out her fixed soul cannonball at any given moment. Shuemaya glanced at Long Yu and said dryly, "You're not allowed to choose anyone else after you've chosen me, or I'll blow you to pieces." The edge of Long Yu's lips twitched. "What's that?" "You were the one who chose me." Shuemaya replied, "It's the same thing." Long Yu finally held his tongue. How could she hard sell herself? However, for some unknown reason, after the battle he went through just now, he felt a stirring in his heart when he sensed Shuemaya's strong character. This was his first time meeting a peer who was more imposing than he was, and it was a female to boot. Tang Yinmeng smiled. "Congratulations, Emaya. You've finally found the one suitable for you. We'll continue to draw lots. The next one is, Wusidwa." Wusidwa's lotus leaf drifted out slowly. Her gaze was wandering. She looked at the boys who were far away, and she looked at the peerless beauty beside Tang Wulin. She clenched her teeth as she urged her lotus leaf onward. It broke the waves and moved straight toward Tang Wulin's side. She did not ask a question, nor did she raise a request. She simply urged her lotus leaf to the other side of Tang Wulin and stood there. Tang Wulin looked at Wu Sidua with shock. "You?" Wu Esidua raised her head and met his gaze. "What about me?" Tang Wulin could hardly smile. "Why did you pick me?" Wu Sidua said, "Why can't I pick you?" Tang Wulin could find no words to retort. In this segment, the girls had absolute priority. Wu Sidua lowered her head. Nobody knew what she was thinking about. Without question, among the girls, Wu Sidua held her own in terms of personality and appearance. The only shortcoming was that Enea had picked Tang Wulin before she did. Compared to Enea, she was not far behind. Even so, she showed her courage in picking Tang Wulin after Enea. The other girls all had their choices and questions. The fourth segment had picked up pace after the great fight between Shuemaya and Long Yu. However, some of the older girls chose to withdraw from this segment of the festival. Since there was still the final segment, they could not leave the date festival as they had not picked anyone. They had to wait until the final segment was over. The boys could only regain their priority in the final segment and express their love toward the person they liked. Dauna. It was finally the turn of Her Highness the Princess of Star Luo Empire. Dauna's lotus leaf drifted outward slowly. Her gaze had lingered on Tang Wulin. "Brother 3, she called out softly. Tang Wulin looked at her. He silently cursed his fate. As expected, a faint mist filled Dauna's eyes. "Brother 3, you must know that I've been looking for you for a long, long time. They said that you were dead, that it was impossible for you to leave the small world. But I've always believed that you wouldn't die. Throughout the past 3 years, I've been searching high and low for you. When the good news from Tang Sect reached me saying that you've returned, I immediately rushed to Shrek Academy just to see you. For you, I'm even willing to forfeit my status as a princess. I cannot forget all that we've been through in Dragon Valley. What I want to ask you is, do you like me?" Tang Wulin opened his mouth, but his tongue was tied. He did not know how to respond to her. As far as like went, he definitely had some feelings for her. However, if he uttered the word like right now, it bore a different meaning with the like he felt under normal circumstances. Dauna smiled sweetly. "I know that you like me." After she said this, her lotus leaf drifted out. She went straight toward Tang Wulin. "When did I say that?" Tang Wulin was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Dauna came before Tang Wulin. When she saw that the spots on both his sides were already occupied by Enea and Wu Sidua, she maneuvered her lotus leaf to stop in front of Tang Wulin. Then, she turned around nimbly. "Now, there can only be me in your eyes." The sound of knuckles cracking came from the side. Tang Wulin turned to look in the direction of the sound. He saw Long Yu looking at him with a fierce glare. Long Yu had a similar response as him when he thought that Enea would pick Long Yu earlier. "What? Don't tell me you want to eat at the bowl while looking at the pot." Shuemio sounded cold. Without anyone noticing, there was already a hand cannon in her hands. She stuck the barrel on Long Yu's waist. Long Yu looked at her. He was unsure whether to laugh or cry. "What are you doing?" Shuemio replied, "What do you think I'm doing?" The situation was slightly awkward. Tang Wulin was not enjoying this either. Dauna was in front while Enea and Wu Sidwa were on both his flanks. He had never thought that he would face such a situation at the Sea God Lake Date Festival. Next, Yuan and Yehue. "It's time for you to choose, Junior." When he heard the name, Sier tensed up instantly. Even Tang Wulin's gaze became focused. He was much taller than Dauna, so it did not affect his field of vision although Dauna stood in front of him. It was Yuan's turn. Having not met them for more than 3 years, Tang Wulin was unsure of any development between Yuan and Yehue and Sier. However, from Sier's previous performance, he could tell that Sier had not succeeded yet. If Sier could still not make Yuan change her mind, he was afraid of what the future would hold. With the lesson learned from Yu Jingyu's misfortune before this, Tang Wulin did not have high hopes for Sier, especially with the one-sided relationship between Sier and Yuan. The lotus leaf under Yuan and Yehue's feet glided out slowly. She looked as calm as ever. Her long red hair fell freely onto her shoulders. Under the night sky, she appeared mysterious and alluring. Sier currently felt his mouth parched and his tongue scorched. He was a nervous wreck. He had admired her for so many years and finally confessed his feelings for her in front of such a large audience. If she still did not pick him, he would have to call it quits. "I've said it before." When Yuan spoke, Sier's body shuddered. "I've told you this a long time ago. If you want to be with me, then you must first defeat me. So, come defeat me, and I'll pick you." Yuan and Yehue looked at Sier with keen sparkling eyes. Sier's entire body shook. He drew a deep breath. He kept inhaling until his lungs were about to burst from overexpansion. Then, he slowly let the air inside his chest out. He never expected things to turn out this way. Is she choosing to reject me using this method? A self-mocking expression appeared on Sier's face. They knew each other too well. They knew each other so well that they could read the backs of each other's hands. There had always been this gap in their abilities and skills between Yuan and Yehue and himself. This gap was never reduced. Even after he had worked hard with all his might, he barely managed to keep up with her. Is she planning on humiliating me in front of everyone today? To make me give up the idea of pursuing her completely? Bring it on. At this moment, Sier was ready to risk everything. He had to carry on this fight no matter what. His body no longer shuddered, his gaze had become determined. Even if he lost, it had to be in her hands. Sier drew a deep breath and said loudly, "All right." His lotus leaf drifted. He urged his lotus leaf on, and he moved to the front of the boys. A faint glow shone in his eyes. Yuan and Yehue snorted. A glow flashed behind her. Her pair of wings unfurled instantly. It was the fallen angel martial soul. Circles of soul rings rose from under her feet. 2 purples and 3 blacks. Without question, after cultivating for the past 3 years, she had strengthened her soul rings greatly in the spirit pagoda. Similarly, circles of soul rings shone underneath Sier's feet. 4 purples and 1 black. In terms of soul ring strength, he was still weaker than Yuan and Yehue. Yuan and Yehue flapped her wings. Her body descended from the skies like black lightning which shot toward Sier. The second soul ring on her body shone brightly, the shadow demon sword materialized out of thin air and she grasped it. Sier's hand flickered with golden light, the light dragon dagger appeared. Faced with Yuan and Yehue's descent from the skies, his body swayed slightly. Although it was only a slight movement, it gave off an illusory feeling to anyone who was looking. The onlookers could not focus and catch sight of his figure. Long Yu and Dauna looked on seriously. Whether it was Yuan and Yehue or Sier, they were both their opponents once. 3 years had gone by, they had grown significantly themselves. What about their opponents? How much have they grown? Tang Wulin also looked on seriously. He did not have the slightest regret of not being able to cultivate his soul power for 3 years. Instead, he was contented burying dragon bones in the dragon graveyard during that period. He was just curious how wide the gap was between him and his companions in their cultivation. Yuan and Yehue's shadow demon sword suddenly enlarged with a dark purplish glow which reflected off the lake's surface, making it a peculiar sight to behold. All of a sudden, Sier's body shot into the skies like a dragon. He became one with his dagger. Amidst a soft dragon's roar, with a light dragon dagger as a point, he shot up like a whirlwind. He had surprisingly chosen to take the shadow demon sword head-on. Ding! Amidst the crisp sound, the two figures headed in different directions. Yuan and Yehue flapped her wings and rose higher into the skies, whereas Sier, who had transformed into a golden dragon, flew horizontally. Light illusion dragon, Sier had unleashed his fourth soul skill the moment the fight commenced. However, he was only on par with Yuan and Yehue's second soul skill. Sier suddenly vanished in midair. The light illusion dragon melded into the night sky. It was invisible in an instant. Yuan and Yehue squinted her eyes slightly. The wings on her back were extended as she hovered in midair. Spots of light began appearing all over her body. Surprisingly, she unleashed her battle armor at this moment. The dark purple battle armor covered her entire body fittingly. Among her peers, her battle armor was the more difficult to craft as she had to accommodate 2 martial souls. It was slightly inferior to the others in terms of the battle armor's strength. However, the battle armor looked exceptionally gorgeous when she donned it. Although she appeared vicious, her red hair and matching purple armor made her alluring at the same time. The headpiece was a ring formed by 2 protrusions which resembled sharp horns. It did not completely protect her head, but it looked nicer this way. The purple glow flowed to form a pale purplish region in the air. It appeared to be a realm of sorts. However, its coverage was not as wide as Long Yu's. Was it truly a realm? Tang Wulin was astonished, and so were Long Yu and Dauna. Also, it was apparent that Yuan and Yehue was being very careful. She respected her opponent. Sier had gotten stronger as well, so he should be much more powerful than he was before. All of a sudden, the purplish halo vibrated violently. The feeling was as if someone had cut across the realm with a paper cutter. The realm was split horizontally. Yuan and Yehue let out a sharp cry. She turned half a circle and slashed horizontally with the shadow demon sword, which had already transformed into the form of a purple crystal. Amidst the crisp sound, a figure appeared faintly only to disappear again. In the next instant, it forcibly cut open the envelope of the purplish realm around it and forced its way out. It disappeared without a trace. Even Yuan and Yehue had to search for him using her abilities of realms. Apparently, Yuan and Yehue was not injured by his sneak attack, but she still appeared cautious. She did not unleash more of her soul skills as she waited in silence. At this moment, another change occurred in the purple realm. In the next instant, 3 golden figures appeared, then disappeared again. 6 sharp beams of light crisscrossed as they struck the purple realm in 6 different directions simultaneously. At the same time, the 5th soul ring on Yuan and Yehue's body suddenly shone brightly. The purple battle armor on her body burst forth with an attractive, bright glow. She seemed to have been waiting for such a move. On her forehead, she grew 2 horns which connected with the headband of her battle armor. This was probably why her battle armor did not have a helmet. Her body instantly grew until she was 3 meters tall. A purple light wheel shone behind her. A huge eye appeared in the center of the light wheel. The purple realm, which she kept at a diameter of 30 meters, suddenly increased until the diameter was more than 100 meters. In the sky, another huge purple eye appeared. A huge purple light column shot down from the skies and covered an area with a diameter of more than 30 meters. 6 swords gleaming charged into the purple light. They were instantly met with a great obstructing force. However, they pressed on determinedly. A sonorous dragon's roar sounded. The 6 swords suddenly connected with each other, weaving together to form a tornado which spiraled into the skies. It forcibly collided with the purple light column. Boom! The intense explosion sent violent ripples across Sea God Lake's surface. Later, more lights appeared that rose upward like a whirlwind. A myriad of gleaming swords danced in the skies in a complex pattern. A terrifying wave of energy burst forth continuously. The light shining from the purple eye seemed to swallow everything. The tornado gradually diminished in size and barely managed to maintain its form. At this moment, the tornado formed by the 6 swords merged into one. A figure also appeared. It was an impressive Sier. His body was covered in grey battle armor. Shortly after, another figure appeared behind him. The figure donned pale golden battle armor. The two figures slowly merged into one. The 5th soul ring on his body shone brightly. Twin dragon transformation. Sier growled. A dagger that was longer than both the light dragon dagger and shadow dragon dagger appeared in his right hand. The dagger's long blade was half golden and half translucent grey. It looked striking. Near him, 2 dragon-shaped shadows circled around. No matter how the purple light came at him, they would be severed when they reached within 3 feet of him. He was steady as a rock amidst the crashing waves. He sliced at the air with the bicolored dagger in his hand. The purple light was effortlessly repelled by him. The battle armor on Sier's body was also bicolored. Yuan and Yehue looked at Sier who had appeared before her with shock. When she saw the dagger which was very close to her, a faint smile appeared at the edges of her lips. All the purple lights were retracted at this instant. The horns above her head and her enlarged body returned to normal. 2 dragon-shaped shadows circled around her and Sier's dagger was before her. I've lost. Yuan and Yehue looked at him with keen sparkling eyes. You didn't use your full powers. Sier seemed to be in a daze. This couldn't have been the full extent of your demon's eye. Also, you didn't utilize your Titan Giant Ape's ability even once. Yuan and Yehue spoke without answering his questions. You've always kept your 5th soul skill a secret from us. Were you waiting for this day? Sier nodded without hesitation. Indeed, he was waiting for this day. He had waited patiently for this day to arrive after having gone through a lot of trouble. Under his relentless efforts, he was finally able to merge his 2 martial souls into a single soul skill, Twin Dragon Transformation. Even though this was not a true martial soul fusion skill, it was similar enough. He got the idea when he saw Wu Seed was Hell White Tiger. With the help of Tang Sect Speed Hall Master, Liang Xiaoyu, he was able to achieve this feat. He clearly knew that it would be difficult for him to defeat Yuan and Yehue. He could only win against her by using some special technique. Fortunately, he finally found such an opportunity. Twin Dragon Transformation combined his 2 great martial souls into one. Although he could not superimpose his cultivation bases together, he could somehow superimpose the special characteristics of his martial souls instead. With the enhancement of his battle armor together with the Twin Dragon Transformation, his explosive powers could be increased to a formidable level. He knew that Yuan and Yehue would use the Demon's Eye to counter his Illusion Dragon joint attack. He had been waiting for this opportunity to use the Twin Dragon Transformation. In truth, if Yuan and Yehue had used her Titan Giant Ape martial soul, it would have been difficult for him to succeed. Titan Giant Ape's strength and defensive powers were truly too powerful. Even Sier did not have the confidence in overcoming them. He had made countless preparations for this day. He had predicted early on that the fallen angel martial soul was more suitable for combat because it could fly above Sea God Lake's surface. His strategy was prearranged to counter this aspect. Everything went smoothly according to plan just as he had imagined. The Demon's Eye was not as powerful as he thought. Maybe Yuan did not unleash the force which she should have. Her Demon Eye was easily defeated by his Twin Dragon Transformation. It seemed he could shatter it with his Illusion Dragon joint attack alone without even using the Twin Dragon Transformation. He had worked hard for many days, and his victory seemed to have been too easy. It came so effortlessly that even Sier found it unbelievable. Are you stupid? Faced with Sier's question, Yuan and Yehue rolled her eyes at him. At the same time, she reached out and grabbed his shoulder so that it would not be difficult for him to remain in midair after he lost the enhancement from his soul skill. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.